fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and I resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What we gonna eat no money, what we at you, eat no at you. Covid money, miss away in the yellow rat you. Use the youth, the money, waste a must a man to statue. Say we like a cash, but we got enough, we got you. Take the script of money, God and say that is not you. One day the man above end up in my gut up. Too much eating at the kitchen, some a fly by like a patu. My singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me.
300% raise.
It burn me.
Garbage pile of the day.
It burn me.
Give the teacher them raise.
It burn me.
I see corruption please.
It burn me.
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me.
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me.
Appear money them a thief.
It burn me.
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and I resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
For me say dig up all the charities and all of the givers. Some a go like say them powerful, me no make a bigger. The already promises, none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth, they rap and they down in our fever. Member bold money and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them swell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell, go mash up people start like thief when them sell.
It burn me.
Or they treat the market man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the cat man.
It burn me.
Or they treat the peanut man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the dirt man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the sun man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat policeman.
It burn me.
How them a treat soldier man.
It burn me.
How them a treat everyone.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't.
Stibbidim day, stibbidim day, stibbidim day. We in Global TV says certain kind of friend we no keep. And some informer friend we love like we in Global. Bona fake friend and bona tape. We in Global. We not promote them, we not support them. Look at them on the cheek, come here represent for we in Global TV. Check it.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Don't mind my shine face, me I wear castor oil. If my face look extra shine tonight, a castor oil me I wear, don't mind me. How you do? Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us, to my community of party and all my family members, platform moderators, membership holders, viewers and subscribers, commenters and trolls. Good evening, David Jarvis. Good evening, Sharon Bernard. Sunshine, welcome back. How was holiday? Good evening, Natalia Freeman. Good evening. Good evening, Elaine Turner, Sheena Kelly, Michelle Lewis Wilson, Janet Riley, EM, Pamela Akola. Good evening and welcome. Brenda, good evening. Arlene Forrest, good evening, and welcome. Cousin Jay, how you doing? Good evening and welcome. Marcia Thomas, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome. Burial victim, them still a suffer. Still suffering. The people on the ground across the country is still not receiving the help they should have been receiving from government. In fact, there isn't a lot of information really coming from government or the media that would inform people of certain step-by-step process and what will be happening, when they will be happening, how they will be happening, in what community it will be happening, bros. No form of proper information. They always send you to website, but what is really there, I don't know much. Me, myself, I really haven't checked. But the truth be told, in general, there isn't much information coming from government. Colleen Allen. There really isn't much information. It's like the storm has passed and gone, and everything is all right. Nobody remembers that there are people underground suffering, some who have lost their homes entirely. The JPS situation unfolding. There is some legality to that, but JPS is being AS at the moment, because yes, there is that common law clause within contract that allows party to avoid obligations and responsibility in circumstances like this you would call an act of God. But to want to have not take on the responsibility because they've been overwhelmed, it is more than them. But to still want the customers, their contract is with the government on behalf of the customers. And to want the customers to be paying them for a service they're not having is woefully unkind, to put it the least. If JPS is saying, I cannot manage to fulfill my contractual responsibilities at the moment, then JPS ought to give the bill payers a grace period of, say if JPS cannot get the entire country back on grid for 2 months, 3 months, then JPS ought to be given the public a grace period where they do not have to pay bills for that period until JPS. It is not really money, because we hear that there's a 50 million US of insurance type of galangin that JPS can tap into. But I don't know, Carlos is doing a lot on this JPS story, which is a developing story, because now it's a brouhaha between the government and JPS, because before the hurricane, both JPS and the government lied to us. Shortly after the hurricane, both the government and JPS lied to us. So therefore, the whole of them are walk and play the people, but they've been caught overwhelmingly in public to be performing inadequately and lying to the public. Now it has turned into a fiasco between the government and JPS. I don't know how hard to take the sloth Mark Golden and throw to the wall tonight. I really don't know how hard to throw him. I don't know if he's going to crack. Because when we keep telling Mark Golden, stand up for the people, is what we mean. Stand up for the people. You see this war between JPS, that is brewing between JPS and the government. A PNP should not lead that charge for poor people. But I wonder if it's because the PNP have them hands in the dirty old cookie jar where Philip Powell helped to mess up the deal. Everybody cut deal where Jamaicans get cut out of it. So them don't have to say a lot. Them really, Albert Peart, Pamela Okola, Althea Johnson, them really don't have to say a lot. Christine Gilbert. But if JPS want to pull out of their responsibility, JPS have to take the customers into account. Company have them policy there where you have goodwills or grace period, where if you cannot meet your contractual side of the obligation, then there's a method of compensation to make up to the customers. You have that insurance money, as it says, Flo M, to tap into, Don Fox. But you realize with other way broke out, when JPS sophisticated themselves, them sophistication allow them to get rid of a lot of staff. They don't have the manpower anymore because them a push button and read computer screen. So they don't have the manpower and the skills to get the job done. Furthermore, over the years, it was one of the reasons why the government sell JPS, because the government whimsical and stingy and don't want to maintain those public infrastructure. So when PJ sell it off, the intention would have been for private investors to invest in the modernization of the infrastructure. Given that we live in a hurricane zone, you would expect the modernization structure to follow that type of guideline where we follow in a building regulations when it comes to hurricane safety. But you realize the system was just rigged and tegged and left half-baited over the country so till it a fall down. But Darrell Vaz still think. And why I'm fed up of Mark Golden? Mark Golden look like him now want to play politics. But the same people them who are lied to it, them same one turn around and play politics with the issue. Because them never go to war with JPS. When JPS cannot provide the service to the people, they were cushioning JPS. It's not even the estimated bill. I think it's the real war here. The real war here is the forced merger clause that JPS people them invoke against the government to say that I cannot take abide by my contractual responsibility because an act of God has overwhelmed the system. They can argue that if they go to court, JPS can argue that well in court and get away with it. It is that our governments, the Ministry of Energy over the years, both sides of the fence, have not. Which part let me explain again, Carlos? The forced merger. So forced merger is French. In English, it's major power, superior power, greater power. That's what it really means, forced merger. Ruby, Carlos, Rosie, good evening. How do you do? So it's a common law clause within contract law. So within all of these big contracts, you would have that clause within the contract that if how you get to the point of forced merger in this situation where a natural disaster that is an act of God, or forced merger can be invoked in a situation where civil war has broken out in the country, and because of that you're unable to meet your contractual obligation. So it can either stem from an act of God or a man-made disaster. COVID was one of the issues as well, where under a contractual obligation you could invoke for forced merger. In the burial situation now, because they have been overwhelmed by the disaster, then in common law they can invoke it and say, then we cannot abide by our contractual obligation in order to serve the people in the normal way and keep up to all of the obligation, because we are overwhelmed by a situation that is out of our control. So therefore we want to either suspend or get out of our contractual liability without any responsibility and any damages, mean you don't have to pay compensation to the Jamaican people who the government have the contract on behalf. If in this situation, JPS could argue this easily in court, and a court would more than highly likely rule in their favor. So I hope I don't confuse you there. I hope the explanation kind of helped. But when can this be true when 5 days after the Hurricane 83? Now, the lies are a different argument when it gets to a legal challenge. The lies they told before and after the hurricane, it's a different thing on the legal challenge. Again, JPS preparedness or their investment in infrastructure in context to the disaster region we're living in could be an argument within that legal challenge, but more because it is a common law principle that allow people to get out of this big contract. JPS really know what they're doing. When the Jamaican government were signing these contracts, they knew they agreed to the forced merger clause as well, because both parties agreed to those things in major contracts. Sometimes you have exemption or exclusion clause within contract that exclude you or exempt you from a certain liability. So when the government they sign up all of these contracts, them really know. The problem is how much did they barter and tender for the people, which will be the customer of JPS, is another story in its entirety. But aren't we always the one in the middle who gets stitched by these two needles? So I hope I do not confuse you. Wouldn't the lies hurt their claim? Well, then again, it will go back to an equitable principle called equity will not do what should have been done. Meaning, if the Jamaican government should have enforced on a principle within the contract and did not enforce it, equity, the court is not going to enforce it because you should have done it and you did not do it. On the issue of lies, both of them would fall down on the go to equity with clean hands as well, because if you're suing, you told a lie to the public, you told a lie to the public, so it's a bat and ball situation. But let's see how the squabble developed between the two of them. But I think JPS is woefully unkind, to put it lightly, because if they want to pull out of that, then the taxpayer should have been, the taxpayer and the bill payers should have been given a grace period, meaning that JPS don't send you a bill until they rectify the system and get the country properly back on grid. But then again, nobody don't stand up to it, and nobody don't talk out to it, neither government side, nor opposition side, nor civil society side. Everybody just shut them mouth. So you don't know if they're a part of the gravy train. You don't know if they're a part of the pocket picking society from the upper classes. You really don't know. But let us see how that debacle unfolds. I see there's a story floating around about Matthew Samoda as well. I haven't read anything about it, so I really won't go into it. When I have time, I'll look into it. And I see there seem to be a new video of police brutality imaging George Floyd situation. Am I correct? Is that something recent that I have been seeing on social media, but haven't get hold of a proper footage myself as yet? Haven't got hold of a proper footage as yet. Dwight Construction. I'll show up Matthew live later. Okay. Bay Farm Road, Dwight Construction. Bay Farm Road. In the Prime Minister cahoots UNC. But a long time, man, you get fat cat contract with the government. Both sides of the fence, so both sides of the fence give big contract. All of them are wrap up. Okay, may I figure what you and get the understanding, Carlos, because I really haven't had the time to read anything on it yet. A long time, man, you do business. Is it Denton Woodbine, the managing director of Dwight Construction? A long time, I don't go labor give him contract. Mama P did give him big contract too. So just like how the two of them and Dodos and the whole of them, the whole of them play away. All of them. Remember last year, him get one big contract from Everett Warmington for 121 million. Him get one this year for 600, for 231 million. In 2016, before Mama P left, Mama P on the 2nd of February 2016, Mama P signed a contract to him valid 6 contracts valid 182 million for rehabilitation of 22 farm roads across Jamaica. So, it happened today, these police haven't. Liberty, if you get a hold of the video, text it to me now, please. Or anybody get hold of that video, can you send it to me? I don't know when Jamaica people are going to stand up, you know. I don't know when them are going to stand up to brutality, because brutality is something where you have to stand up to. Nobody can stand up to it for you. The people across the country, Michelle Clark, good evening. I've been asking Jamaicans, rather than demonstrating in pockets. Look one year so today, look one day so tomorrow. When you use social media, use social media as a communication tool and organize on a protest across the country, Jamaica, if it's even one day. If it's even one day, I'm going to go back to that, Carlos. The question is, I want to ask, because I'm happy is a Jamaican contractor rather than Mr. Hing Shang Fiu Shang. But we want to know if there's any friend and company and nepotism and political ally and political control in these contracts. We want to know how much people tender for the contract. We want to know if the proper procurement methods were followed, because we know this government lawless when it comes to abiding by rules and regulation and following proper procedures. Norman Ferguson. We know this government is lawless. Althea. So we really want to know if the government followed the proper procedures, Millicent Jones. If the government followed the proper procedures in awarding this contract. Sifu Francis. Yvonne Riley. We want to know if there's any nepotism. Or we want to know if it did just hand over, like how Dr. Tufton would just hand contract to him friend them without any documentation, any accountability, and no transparency whatsoever. So therefore, Dr. Tufton can count. And when I talk about Dr. Tufton, let me tell that fool or something. Idiot. Because me just learn now. Do not pursue a doctorate degree, Wayne. Don't pursue it. It's not going to make you any brighter. It's not going to make you any honester. The most likely thing that a doctorate degree will do to you, it'll turn you into a bigger asshole, a more stupid lie, a big fat-faced idiot in a public. Dustin Bryan, you're a dunce. Resign. Not for 1 minute, for 8 years. 8 years you have failed. And every day, this fool get up in a public and try to blame somebody else for his incompetency. What are you playing with? That's when you da work, you the head civil servant within the Ministry of Health. You cannot account for anything. You think you're not responsible to behold to anything that the Auditor General says. You want them to prove in law that what they says bind you. All of your failures, dunce, doctor this and doctor that, is blame on somebody else. Examine yourself, asshole, and see if you could have stayed in the private sector blaming one of your staff for such a woeful incompetency, backward, dunce, back of the class, walk and buy qualification, bend over on yourself for qualification, and come out and come act like one as bright as me, dunce. I have never worked anywhere where any of my management have to pull me up about my work. It has never happened. They may pull me up about my mannerism. They may pull me up about my mannerism, but certainly, Dustin, not my work ethics, not my competency. Not my work ethics or my competency. The only thing they're going to pull me upon is my mannerism. Because I'm enough, I'm a feisty. You understand? But incompetently all you do is go around. You blame dead people. You blame people who retire. You blame people who are gone foreign. Typical backwards dunce. It's never going to work. Anytime you see somebody out there who can admit where they have gone wrong, when they have gone wrong, nothing is going to work. And he is still the head civil servant in the Ministry of Health. And you tell me where we're going if in the Ministry of Health there's no decision. No wonder why Andrew, Prime Minister, Minister, Head Cook and Buckle Washer, Minister of everything. No wonder why you take over the Ministry of Health. Because you seem to have padlock these days in a Prime Minister. Education Minister can't talk. Health Minister can't talk. Agriculture Minister can't talk. Talking Minister can't talk. Working now work Minister can't. Adjust you. Money Minister. Pay for empty building Minister can't talk. Adjust you wanna walk and talk. Walk and talk, Minister. Minister walk and talk. And that's all you do, you know. From the hurricane come, you just a walk and talk. And then Dipsy Dana, we don't want to come off our she depend our highness. Dipsy Dana, come out and try to tell lie. At least Nestor Morgan was a registered liar. But uno JLP people, every lie on tell on fall down. Uno lie wear pound of forehead. These days uno don't even have to open on the mouth, you know, normally, elder fetch. Normally, once uno open on the mouth, uno lie. These days, Rohan, how you do? Do it that. These days, uno don't even have to open on the mouth again. Uno forehead alone walk with a symbol. So uno don't have to open on the mouth. We don't want to open on the mouth. We can read through no forehead. That's how plain it is now. That is how plain it is. But still, Mark Golden have them running the political capital. Mark Golden nothing with loan. Mark Golden make them a come champion JPS. The same thing where them come out and come tell we lie about the storm never even passed good before them run out and say, oh, we are equipped. Oh, we are fit. We have been to the gym and we chain up with muscle them and we're good and ready to go. Good and ready to go. See there? No one now cries, oh, me back. Me never know say so heavy. Put it down. Wait there, man. Me never know say so this is heavy. I saw everybody a ball out now. Crisis. Violet Watson. Crisis. So who dare tell lie or who did never see everything before then talk, which would be dis or misinformation. And Andrew Holness won't make where him fight in a crowd. Yeah? Andrew Holness won't answer to any of the question them, the blatant lie them. Not one him willing to answer to. Not one. Not one. The whole of them unclean. So we want to know if there's any nepotism. Show us the information. It's a government contract. It ought to be made public. And a same thing where we have to come crutch like sensible and put AI for. It should be readily available on the Ministry of the National Works Agency website. One of the Prime Minister filing cabinet. Nobody in Jamaica says a minister walk and talk, take over the entire government. When you have a natural disaster where it's a cabinet galanging, it's a coordinated galanging between governments and agencies. It's the Prime Minister one that speaks to the nation on behalf of everybody. Not addressing the nation, It's telling the nation where Nigel part do, where favor part and how much favor I go spend. And the Prime Minister walkie-talkie just go around like that. Prime Minister walkie-talkie just walk around and take pictures. The people of Jamaica are demonstrating. But Andrew wait for one more disaster come hit on Pananeda. They have an agenda for the coastline. They have an agenda for the coastline. But true Jamaica people won't wake up, you see. Everybody can come play with them. Will Troy Bridge be done competently and on time? Does what's him call him? Dwight Construction, Colin Richards, John Bailey, have the expertise to build a proper bridge? Or one could ask the question, will Dwight Construction be subcontracting part of the contract? If he doesn't have the expertise, does he have the expertise? And if they do not, will they be subcontracting the contract? And how is it that the contract is 231 million, but last few months ago, the government allocated 80 million in this year's budget? Has anyone been able to ascertain where the other 151 million comes from, if it comes from a previous budget or any previous allocation, the unstoppable one? Does anyone know? But a be a hanky-panky, Rowan Williams, Agwan, be a hanky-panky. And I'm very worried because it's going to happen again. That in the next 12 months or so, the same people are going to be out there making a fool of themselves, canvassing and motorcading for politicians, selling their votes to politicians who some of them by that time would not have received any help to assist them through the disaster just gone. But everybody can play with we because we don't stand up for nothing. We really don't stand up for nothing. See, even a PMP National Caucus of PMP Council, National Caucus of PMP Council. Hold on. Let me go upon Dana Scott lady firstly. Me think Dana Scott mad or Dana Scott Motley play with we or the all of them in it together or but them take with a fool. Why would Dana Scott Motley want Jamaica to become a republic under this current government? Or am I understanding Dana Scott Motley has raised concern about whether Jamaica will be a republic before the next general election? Do you, Miss Motley, or would you, Miss Motley, like Jamaica to become a republic under this current government? Is that how I'm to understand Miss Motley's concern? Because if that is Miss Scott Motley's concern, then me fearful. Me fearful if Miss Scott Motley wouldn't find it comfortable for this government, this current government, this lawless, tyrannical, dictatorous government, Brittany L, to lead this country into a republic. Me no get it. It's either you drink mad pussy or you work with them, or you have that much confidence in them that you think a half-hearted government should lead the country forward in this. Me not understand what Miss Scott Motley mean. She needs to come out, come rectify. When you talk to dunce people, Miss Scott Motley, you have to remember that we don't go to school.
On the table for 3 months before it's debated. It is then debated. A bill like this, most people are going to want to speak on it. It then has to, after the debate is closed, it has to remain on the table for another 3 months. It is then sent to the Senate, debated in the Senate, and then returned to the House, where no less than 2 months. That means it has to be there for 2 months. No more than 6 months, a referendum date is set. Senator Tamina, you think we're going to have that before the election? So my call has been very clear. When we go into that room as a committee, there are many of us who compromise on our position to arrive at consensus. Because consensus does not mean that we all agree. It means that we have a common goal, and so we can't have a rigidity and fixity of what it is we desire. And we have, in the beginning of that committee, it worked remarkably well. I have said that you couldn't come in the room and know who represent who or who care about who. Because our purpose was to create a new nation, the Republic of Jamaica.
I'm afraid that the old are no. I'm afraid that the old are always observing how I'm afraid that the old are like pussy no. I'm afraid that the whole are no. Because you don't mind it stitch up in a phone a high class way as long as you get what you want. You really don't care about what is better, what is right, or what is good for the people who send you go up there so to represent them. It's all about you. So Desmond Mackenzie has been accused for failing to provide adequate support to councillors, hindering their ability to effectively serve their communities in the wake of Hurricane Beryl A media release from President of the National Caucus of the People's National Party, Councillor Norman Scott, say, while Mackenzie has met with mayors, he is yet to provide a detailed plan of action for the necessary resources to effectively address the urgent need across the country. Jamaica, do you understand how way behind this government is on the management of this issue? Do you understand how much it is showing that this government has no care? This government has no grip on the issue. The issue is all over the place. Do you understand that help is not coming to Jamaicans anytime soon, or if at all? Lennox, Yvonne, how are you? Ladybug. It is not coming anytime soon, or if at all. Because this conversation here, all of these things should have been done in the first 3 days of the hurricane, the first 72 hours. Them something where you hear the action plan, a plan of action, how we're going to distribute resources and assist people. What agency, what group, what this, what that, how we're going to do the whole thing as a group. All of this should have been coordinated in the first 3 days after burial. So we had the burial towards the weekend. By Monday of the next week, Kate M., the whole country should be operationally ready to go across the country dealing with this disaster. By Monday of the following week, we had the hurricane on the 3rd. Let me talk about a date. Let me look at my calendar quickly. We had the... I want my calendar. Why are you giving me that? No, go to the calendar on my phone. We had the hurricane on Wednesday, Thursday, the 3rd to the 4th. So by Monday the 8th of July, there should have been an action plan. That's why media asks the big nose fool. Rather than going around the country with a tripod and a camera, you ought to be in Kingston with your cabinet and the relevant agencies coordinating the relief and support effort that is required given the severity of the storm. To date, we don't know if the Prime Minister has done that. We know the Prime Minister has his regular weekly cabinet. But to say an emergency cabinet to address the situation and how we're going to deal with this as a country, I'm not sure. I don't know if that has happened. That plan should have been in place from the 8th. of July. It is still not yet in place. We're almost 3 weeks behind the storm, isn't it? Almost 3 weeks. And an action plan of distributing resources and assisting burial victims is nowhere in place. And we have been asking the government we've been asking the opposition from the government to come out and talk about the loan. We have been asking the opposition, you need to stand up for the people, stand up for the people. See the same crooked Labour them I can't act like them a stand up for when I use it play politics. Because the politics them I play with JPS. Them I use the bill and the force majeure, which is really the problem, to get into the squabble with JPS. But when it was about the service to the Jamaican people, they were all cushioning JPS. Nobody never cared. The Prime Minister stood in Parliament and said JPS was doing a remarkable or adequate job, if that's not remarkable or something, but it was something in the tone of how Orlando Terrelong speaks. And now we have an open sore. We don't even have theatre for the foot. Go cut it off. But we want it smelling in public, you see. We want it to smell in public. Because we want the Jamaican people to see, or we want the Jamaican people to wake up and demand competition from the government. The fact that JPS does not have a competitor in Jamaica, JPS don't have to do anything. JPS don't have to be forced to do anything, because Mr. Wayne, the PM, passed through Santa Cruz with a barrage of police with him like a King Charles passing through. That's all. That's all the drunk row, the beakless drunk row, go around the country and bang anti-Jamaicans. I mean, I don't know why Jamaicans not so stale piss, rotten egg and rotten tomato at Andrew Holness. Coming around the country, swifting around the country, when there's no adequate support for the people on the ground. What sort of help do you think that is, Prime Minister? Other than the few chicken back people, we're going to say, I'm a Prime Minister. Prime Minister. The Porsche galangin. Prime Minister. Other than them few there, everybody gone back in them dog in a deep distress. The minute the Prime Minister gunfire in motorcade move off. I want if Pilly Blacks they're in a uniform, Prime Minister. Can we not trust you know? The whole of a gunman, whether be legal or illegal, or not always a pint gun in our face. Just ask Dean Jones. Just ask Dean Jones if we don't pint gun out away when we not obey no. Just ask Andrew Holness if Andrew Holness a pint camera out away and him spyglass and him spywares after we when we not obey. I like we tell Prime Minister or a truth we attack. We just ask. And most up on the south side, a few places indeed go, because remember I said that was the next day after the election and the road condition in a south sent a little bit. I just Cheddar Beach, mainly up in a Flight Green, Bongaratos, Imgo. People of Jamaica, the people of Junction, St. Mary, Black Road, because of the lack of electricity. When worthless people from Parity, all know me no soon come out. On worthless people from my hometown, all know me no soon come out. On the last cross Jamaica, Natalie Mullins. When you know say on the last cross Jamaica go get light though. I don't know why not act so obedient. Like I me one come from the hooligan. And me one come from the rebellious. And me one can't keep my mouth shut. Everybody just want to keep beating from government, sir. No, sir. Me afraid of lick. Me afraid of lick. So me don't understand how Jamaicans just roll over to all sort of bad treatment. The people of Jamaica are suffering. And the worst thing is, we see everybody turn them back pound. No paper na hardly write about what na go through. No paper na write about the help what na get. Very few. Burial should have been a major headline on a daily basis. It's not happening. It's like it never happened in some media spaces. To some of the vloggers across social media, it's like it never happened. Me see how some of the brand Jamaica want them. But those are the people who continue to convince and confuse Jamaicans that they care about them. And brand Jamaica must not be criticized because it's the best thing since sliced bread. I wonder if those brand Jamaica people see the mash-up state of brand Jamaica at the moment. The state of poor brand Jamaica at the moment is woeful. So this year when you him and Darrell, them a talk about fairness to customers. Trust me, people, is not the estimated bill. The estimated bill is a front, Ralston. Take it as me telling you. The estimated bill. Tell me what about the estimated bill that is causing this big war? It's not the estimated bill. JPS always send estimated bill to their customer. JPS always dig out and rob out them customer on a day-to-day basis. Government wouldn't be confused. Government wouldn't be concerned about UNO and JPS and estimated bill. UNO ideas? Why do you think government would care about that? The estimated bill is not an issue. It's just not an issue. That's not what the issue is. The issue is the contractual war between the two over the forced merger. The estimated bill is nothing to war about because even though I don't agree with JPS, real sweet, JPS explained how they would rectify that. Even though I may not trust them and I don't agree with the explanation. They explain how they would have rectified the estimated bill. The estimated bill, it's not an issue of contention. The government make it look like the estimated bill is an issue of contention. It's not. It's really the contractual issue of the forced merger clause that JPS invoke because this is going to cost them a whole heap of money. But then again, the 50 million US is there. Insurance is there for them to tap into. So why you don't get outside technicians and engineers to come and help you to get the thing back together? Because you have the money to do so. So in the first place, I don't see why JPS would have even want to invoke the clause, the forced merger, because JPS isn't woefully out of pocket dealing with the situation. As the government and Darrell Vance explained and Nigel Clark, there is a 50 million US indemnity to deal with this issue. So on those levels, I don't agree with them invoking the forced merger clause because they have money that they can use to back them up to get the system up and running, even if they have to get international people, employ international people to come in and assist them. Well, them do it all the time with estimated billing. Yes, JPS, as I said, I don't agree with them. What JPS should have done is, under the whole disaster issue and with human conscience and with organizational responsibility, with the responsibility of humanity, what JPS should have done is given customers at least a 3 months grace period where customers island-wide wouldn't have to pay bills for that 3 months while JPS gets the system up and running. Making all those compromises would have been a fair deal, using the insurance money available to them to get the system up and running. I don't see the reason for invoking a close measure at the force measure at the moment. But as I said, let's see how it plays out and if the government is going to want to take it back into receivership, or the government will seek to find another investor, or the Chinese, them are wait for take it out of the Japanese and the Koreans' hand. I don't know. But one thing I should have been able to explain, I forgot to explain under the close merger invocation as well. It is way too early, in my view, for JPS to have invoked that. I don't know if Carlos is still here. It is too early for that to be invoked, because one of the principles is for you to really invoke that, and that may be an issue for JPS in court as well. The disaster have to be going on for, I think, 30 days or more for you to really invoke the force measure clause within the contract to say you cannot, you can no longer abide by your contractual responsibilities. So JPS, even then, so they would still be invoking it way too early. We're just we're not even 15 days. We're not even, I think, 15 days into the disaster yet. So they would be invoking it way too early. But as I said, between the Office of Utility Regulator, JPS, and the government, let's see how they use us, the customers, throughout this bat and ball process they will be going through. But as I was saying earlier, if it's because the government doesn't care about the people, what Jamaica really needs is competition in energy. 18 days into it. So we're 18 days into it. The force measure would have been still too early. We're not a month into it yet. But what is needed in the energy sector in Jamaica is competition. We need to have more competitors. We need to be able to have other energy suppliers. And that would allow JPS to come up to standard. But when you have the monopoly in the business, you tend not to care, because regardless of what your service is, the customers have to use it. It is the only service. Thief or buy, one must say, the customer have to use it because it's the predominant source. And the government needs to start introducing solar energy into the country as a way of competition. We cannot allow one set of people to amass wealth without responsibility. All of this is way up in the air too early. Nobody, as it turns out, was prepared for this. And worst of all, nobody understand how to manage the situation. Management, operational management really matters. How robust you are on the ground, how empathetic and sympathetic you are on the ground, rather than be a classy, box ticking, benchmarking, administrative hawker. Our Prime Minister is a hustler wholeness, the dipsy and the hustler wholeness. All the Prime Minister has been doing since the hurricane is going around the country hustling people for their votes. Coercion, Prime Minister, a crime. Coercion, Prime Minister, is a crime. Bribery, Prime Minister, is a crime. Conspiracy to bribe, Prime Minister, is a crime. It is all the Prime Minister going around the country doing vote coercion, promising, forgetting that you're promising the same people you promised 8 years ago. And they still remember, even though they don't care, that you fail on all of those promises. And you still come back. But Mark Golden, you can't go on, you know. You're heading for a brawling defeat. Let me say this tonight here. You, Mark Golden, are heading for a brawling defeat. Communication matters. Communication matters in dialect and culture. Communication, Mr. Golden, matters in dialect and culture. Messaging matters. Communication is effective in getting your messaging across. Images also, Mr. Golden. Messaging. There's a lot of message, Mr. Golden, in image. The truth is, though, Mr. Golden, you still learn to talk patois. You don't learn it yet. Not at all. You don't learn patois yet, Mr. Golden. You're still a lonely baby, lonely. Step by step. Lonely baby, lonely. Still a wahole and turn up. Mark Golden. Speaking to Jamaicans in their dialect and culture politically, Mark Golden, matters. How you going to get your message across to them when your patois is quite much a phony one, as Donald Trump would say? Phony patois. Tourist speaking patois. You cannot cut through to the people because you're not speaking in their dialect and culture. It is why your message is not getting through. Your patois sounds trying. Doesn't seem like you have a hang of it yet. Messaging matters. And if the people now get your message, them now go feel you. It's hard for them feel you if them now get the message. Nobody now asks you to be a ghetto boy. Nobody now asks you to be a tegereg. But we are saying and have been saying a long time, there is no fire in the political belly of Mark Golden. The political spheres, though, Mark Golden, requires some of that. It's just how the political arena is. The classy how dare you uptown thing doesn't really cut it. It's not those people who really involve in politics in Jamaica or that your political campaign appeals to. It's not really. It's the people in the ghetto, it's the people in the rural communities that will not appeal to. And those are the people that is not understanding your way of communication. PSOJ and Uptown understand you. PSOJ and the people Uptown understand you. But is it getting through? I'm sorry for Jamaica, you know, because given the lukewarmness of the PNP, given the crookedness of Andrew Holness machine, and the amount of money Andrew Holness have to buy votes, Andrew Holness have how much accountability framework in his office, me worried for Jamaica. Jamaica can be for Andrew Holness takings the way how things are go. I am worried. Another term of Andrew Holness, I don't know what will happen to Jamaica. I am worried. I don't know if the people of Jamaica are worried as I am, or maybe they are not looking at Andrew Holness in the future. They are not looking at Andrew Holness having more power. They are not looking at Andrew Holness giving another 4 or 5 years to rum raid through our constitution and governance and legislative process. I am worried. I wonder if the people at home are worried. I wonder if they're worried. And I wonder if they have anything to fight for, anything to stand up for, or anything to protect. Or everybody just going to make government take liberty and roll over them. So everybody are going to make government collect up billions and millions, and them not get no help out of it. And then when election come next 12 months, government come buy out the whole army. And another hurricane season will fall right back in the same trap again. Right back in the same trap again. Me sorry. That's why I could never align myself with no political organization or no politicians in Jamaica. I'm friendly to no politician. I'm here to protect no politician. I stand fair and square in the middle. If Labour do good, I will talk about it. If PMP do good, I will talk about it. If Labour do bad, I will talk about it. If PMP do bad, I will talk about it. Wayne and Global TV is not a political organization. I am not here to cushion blows from any politician or any political organization. If Mark Golden is not good enough for the job, Mark Golden is just not good enough for the job. A weak opposition is a weak government. It's as simple as that. A weak opposition will produce a weak government. Ask Andrew Casey. Ask Andrew. Fitzroy Phillips, how you do? Ask Andrew. Ask Andrew Wholeness. No, we can't hear how the loan go. No, we can't hear how the loan go. No, we can't hear what help Jamaica people get. The PNP councillors have to ask local government for action plan. 18 days into the hurricane. 18 days. And an action plan hasn't come from local government. Meaning, so we don't have one from central government either. That's why nobody not talk to it. That's why none of the fake news them not talk about burial. That's why none of the fake news them. That's why none of the fake news them not talk about what the people them a meet on the ground. Nobody not talk. Everybody look like it not happen. Nothing never happen. Make we look the other way. Make we wait till everybody forget about it. Remember, so for 3 years, them look the other way and try. You know. When we couldn't think the rest of Jamaica is different from try. Opal Demetrius, how are you? First time seeing you. Why do you think the rest of Jamaica is different from Troy Bridge? Why do you think the rest of Jamaica deserve a better treatment than Troy Bridge? Why do you think same way them turn them eye left pan Troy Bridge for 3 years? And you have to pass in a rope, create a basin pan, wash pan, or anything you can pass in a pan rope, pan bamboo, pan stick. And nobody never look sideways. Why do you think the rest of Jamaica deserves better than the people of Troy? Why do you think the people of Jamaica is going to get any better treatment than the people of Troy? If the government could have allowed a death trap of Troy Bridge for 3 years, you think the devastation over the country at the moment really matters to the government? If the government really cares, the government would have swift action plan to deal with the situation. 18 days behind, and we have not had an action plan from government how people are going to be assisted on the ground. The help is not even getting there. I have said this here before. The private sector, though not doing enough, is doing much better than the government. The private sector, even though not doing enough, is doing a lot better than the government. Nobody cares about us. Other than when them want to vote, nobody cares about us. Will Jamaican continue this disgraceful vote selling? Or will Jamaican vote on their conscience and vote on who they think is better for their country? The reason why politicians don't have to do anything, one of them do a business transaction, them pay for them vote, them get them vote, this transaction done. Them don't literally own nothing else. Them don't own nothing else. So therefore, them don't have to do anything for them. And that's why they don't do. Because you can't go to them, go argue with them. Because you and them conjure up corruptly to give him power. And him pay you to do so. The contractual obligation between you and him done. Him not owe you nothing more. Him don't owe you nothing more. So that $1,000 here where you sell your vote for, you're not going to have to think if you not continue to sell your vote, to put up the price inflation wise. Match it with inflation. You can't go below minimum wage. Huh? One vote is below a week's minimum wage. No, sir. I name cheap. I name cheap, cheap. Huh? You not going bad. Mrs. Azan and the all of them send zinc. So them send zinc a centil. What did Andrew send? Tarpaulin. Tarpaulin government. That's all you can offer. Tarpaulin. Private sector reach to the people them with food and water before tarpaulin government. Crocus bag government. The food where you hear crocus bag government a talk about. What you hear Dipsy there now talk about, it's substantial. It's a bag to feed a family of 4 for 4 days. Dipsy. I want to know. You don't think everybody has starved like you? But this is how you look down upon Jamaica. A poor people them. So them have to glad for the little pittance. And then when you come on election campaign, when you still come use that pittance against them, you know. Can you come remind them how come on the first did reach there with camera when the election done? And you come remind them, so you tell them, say, tank water is the most refreshing water you ever have. And then we come telling us, say, remember, somebody did ask the reporter, say, if Tri-Bridge is the only bridge in Jamaica, you need update. And you don't see now that bridge where you need update, man. What is it about Tri-Bridge? But Tri-Bridge is a death trap, sir. Who cares about that? If you don't want look at the dead and don't look on and go, or don't go on. This is how the Jamaican people get treated by politicians. And them take it, them love it. Then we get it today and tomorrow them go back, go take it for KFC. I want Jamaicans. We don't play a major part in the corruption and the crime at Jamaican too, you know. And we pay for it and we buy it and we change the children them and we wash the bloody clothes them and we hide the money them under the pillow and we take sway for them say, my picking him, my good grow at church picking it. That time you know so you pick me a criminal. And you still say, my good grow at church picking it. All that we have share and part in there. All that we have to fix it. You know, I will die before I align myself to any political organization in Jamaica. As long as you're aligned die-heartedly to a political organization, you're not ready for Jamaica to be better. You just politically and hypocritically want your party to come into power. And this is why I disagree with Jamaican politics, because nothing is about people or policy. It's all about power. And look at what we have had for the last 8 years. It's a struggle for power on both sides of the fence without little or nothing being done to elevate the people. And me, dunce me, would have to go join that pack and go and tell people, oh, I have law degrees and I have this and I have, and come out here, come act like fool? Do I really look like a fool? Hmm? Because people love when you act fool, you know. People love when you act fool, and I don't have the time for acting. It's energy draining when you have to act as who you're not. It's energy draining. I am here for Jamaica. I'm not here for JLP nor PNP. Couldn't care if one of those two exists because of what they have done to Jamaica. What I care about is how the people of Jamaica are treated. And on both sides of the political fence, whichever side is there, there's no meaningful improvement for the people. Just look out of your own eye. Somehow we hypocritically and blindly follow these people who do not uplift anything for us. But we follow them and support them blindly. We laud them blindly. Me not join them club there. I don't join those clubs. I want to be free like a bird in the tree. Oh, say it loud, say it proud. I want the whole wide world to hear. So we can join up with the effort. And when me want talk, then my conscience start prick me and said, no, you have to think how it a go sound. The last thing that Wayne does is think about how it a go sound if it's the bloody truth. If it's the truth, the last thing I'm going to do is think about how the thing might sound to the listener's ear. If the listener's ear is that intolerant, go and have it tolerized so you can trent your ears. That's when you hear something you need, don't get wobbled. Trenton up on yourself. When you're too whimsical and whingy all. Trenton up. That's when you hear something one you don't like. You can't say, you don't ever see it from that angle. Surprising. I never know that view exists. Rather, someone would want draw a cutlass and start wishing and switching and washing because somebody has spoken in a term which you do not like, agree with, or approve of. Trenton up on a mind. Trenton up on a tolerance. We need a better Jamaica, and we're going to have to stand firm to do it. Christopher Campbell, how are you? We're going to need to stand firm to do it. As long as we cut down party line, Jamaica will never, ever get itself out of the quagmire we're in. Until we start seeing it as all of us are Jamaicans, we're not going to go anywhere. Because every cycle, one side is going to tear down the other to achieve power. And within that time of holding on to power, nobody thinks about the people. And the people don't even realize, even though they realize that they're not think about or thought about, they still earnestly wait for a next cycle just to get in a euphoric celebration for a 2-week period. Why, oh, why? I'm if I tell you, oh, it turn bad. Bad to itself. But anyway, but I have to hour and a half now. I'm gone on my bed. I will call us them, I'm going to explain a little more. The little Matt fiasco. I have to go over Carlos, go catch up on the little Matt fiasco car. Sometimes we don't have time to read about the labor them, because Almighty God, if you read about them continuously, I go walk and tell lie, because you just are gonna know how to tell stupid lie. Because why? Them don't sound like them a work together. Everybody a do their own thing, everybody a tell them own lie. And make we buckle it out for see who for lie can win. But who am I to quarrel with them? I didn't vote them in for. I hit them, vote them in for Carlos. You soon start, come here, go done now. So, as soon as Carlos start, me a jump over there, go learn about the little London boy. The little London boy, when it comfortable with him passport, and because of Andrew mouth, he have to dash with him passport. You see your mouth, Andrew? You see your mouth? Coming like you drink water after goat, Andrew wholeness. About an hour or so. Coming like you drink water after goat, Andrew wholeness. Your mouth poison. Your mouth is poison. Drink after goat, Prime Minister. But we're going to remind you, we want to know more about the contract with Dwight Construction. We want to know about the procurement process, rather. And we want to know about the tendering process. How much people bid for that contract? And was it that Dwight Construction was the most competent and credible? Or is it that the contract was just given to Dwight Construction because a one-away club member? For the people of Jamaica, that is important. And those important information should be readily available on the National Works Agency website. Because I don't know why Andrew not call it Ministry of Works and Construction, or Ministry of Work and Engineering. But anyway, anything it be, I go take in him office. The only thing Andrew can take in him office is the Governor General's office. But every other one, he can walk and group it in if he wants. Anyway, me I got my bed now. Me will soon a morning. Ministry of Education. What is about Ministry of Education? That another thief there she. That the wicked criminal thief there. That the wicked criminal thieving woman. But thief have to pick them money. Boy, some of you Jamaican woman them thief, you know, Favor Williams, Cassan Troop, Dr. Grace McLean, a whole heap of thief in there, though. Royal Reed. See that? And Nesta Andrew now said, them are going to put temporary structure for the people them can't cross. 3 years, you know. Well, who could answer that question? But no, if he might get paid for all of these different portfolios where him conjure up, because in reality, if there was a minister controlling all of these portfolios and these agencies have run by technocrats, headed by technocrats rather than the prime minister, then those people would be salarized. So the question is, Blue Waves, is the prime minister salarized independently for all these different ministries and agencies. Do you know an important argument? Why you don't go to your bed, boy? Me just remember something. Leave me alone. Let me talk on my mouth. The importance of all this brouhaha going on at the moment with the lack of management of the Prime Minister. Do you know how critical it is for this country? Andrew is the Minister of Defense. Andrew Holness is the Minister of Defense. And one who cannot manage a natural disaster is not in a competent position to be the head of defense of the country. When it comes to decision making, the Prime Minister has woefully shown that he's not a competent decision maker. Therefore, it is, or we are, because of that, in a dangerous situation should something happen in our country. The Prime Minister will not know how to guide, direct, instruct, and lead the situation. What if a civil war breaks out in our country? Can you depend on the Prime Minister to make the right decisions? Or do you think the Prime Minister will order a bloodbath on the country in order to hold on to power? Ask yourself that question. You can't go on now, Wayne. You can't go on now. All right, him say me fi go on now, me gone. Him say me fi gone now, so me gone. Anyway, we will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you all very much for being here with us this evening. I hope you have enjoyed our presentation. Thank you very much for watching Global Television.